Some espresso here. So last time, some folks heard some sipping on the recording, and well, I was having a cup of coffee and I did try to cut out all of this sipping, but apparently I missed some. So I'm really sorry. It's kind of gross. So this time I got espresso, and espresso, I guess you do sip it. RDC. This is probably one of the least interesting topics ever. And I'm making some videos on some fairly uninteresting topics. So RDC stands for Regional Data Collection, and fundamentally, well, so first of all, this only, text message. This only applies to analytics. So first of all, 2 text messages. First of all, if you're not an analytics user, you're not responsible for anything related to analytics, then you don't really need to watch this. But if you do, you need to understand RDC. So what is RDC? Like I said, it stands for Regional Data Collection. Last time we talked about, and I showed you how to look up a request, an analytics request, see the Marketing Cloud ID. So if you do the same thing, you'll notice that the first part of that request is a URL. Generally speaking, so most people have in place a CNAME. And if you don't know what a CNAME is, Google it. It's not really an Adobe thing. It's something to do with NetOps. It stands for canonical name. But Google it and you'll find out sort of basically what it is. Effectively, when you have an analytics request that isn't a domain that's 207 or omtr.dc.net, then you've set up a CNAME. One thing you need to do in order to understand if you're using RDC is you need to take that CNAME, so just the domain part of it, and you need to ping it. If I look at the Adobe request, it goes to stats.adobe.com. And if I ping that, you'll see that it resolves to omtr.dc.net. Same thing if I do my own CNAME. So I set one up called isabel.lamontcrook.com. Isabel's the name of my dog. It resolves to omtr.dc.net. What is that? Well, that is the domain of RDC. So omtr.dc.net is the RDC server, or are the RDC servers. So I put together this highly professional graphic here. And you'll see that 207.net is really, it's the legacy way of doing analytics requests. It points to one data center and one data center only. So when that request is sent from the page, it goes to wherever your data center is. It could be Dallas, it could be Pacific Northwest, it could be Europe, it could be wherever. And that means that if your customers, so say for instance it's in Dallas, Texas, if your customers are, some of them are in China, then that request has to go all the way around the globe in order to send data to your reporting. So RDC takes that into consideration by having a browser make a request to a local node, a data collection node, closest to where you are. So again, if your data center where your reports and data is all stored is in somewhere like Dallas, Texas, or San Jose, then, and your customer is in China, then the request is going to go somewhere in the Asia Pacific area. So it could be China, it could be Japan, wherever. And that reduces latency. It also is a fail-safe. So that's what RDC is. Not terribly interesting, but something you should be aware of. So ping it in order to figure out where it resolves to, and if it resolves to, or your CNAME resolves to 207.net, then you need to migrate. And if it belongs to omtr.dc.net, you're good. List below documentation on how to migrate from 207.net. It's pretty simple. Now, if you don't use a CNAME, it's going to be self-evident if you're on RDC or not, because the request is going to show omtr.dc.net or 207.net. It's a little bit more complicated than for the Marketing Cloud migration, and we'll cover that in a video, but just be aware that if your analytics request is going to one of those two domains, then, well, one, you don't need to ping anything. That's the request. And two, that should tell you if you're in RDC or not. Leave me some requests, subscribe, do whatever. If you don't like this, keep it to yourself. I mean, please. But if you do like it, let me know. I really appreciate it. Thanks.